Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan. This video is a continuation of the Flyer project or the Flyer game project that we're doing. This video will cover sections 4, 5, and 6. All right. Up to this point, you should realize that this is a game that we are creating, and at this point you should also notice that the game is essentially it's pretty simple. You have a Flybot character that's trying to collect coins and avoid the rocks and avoid going off screen. The game ends when the Flybot goes off the screen. All right. So what we're going to do is that in the next couple of sections, we're going to implement code to make our character go down, but also implement code to make the character move around on the screen. All right. And we're going to do one or two things a little bit differently than the program wants us to do, but you'll see what I mean when we get into it. All right. So on the prior video, all right, which covered sections 1 through 3, all right, in section 3 in particular, we basically implemented code for our lines 2 through 9. All right. We added 3 variables. We put in animations for a rock and a coin. All right. 2 rocks and a coin. All right. So what we're going to be doing in the next couple of sections is we're going to be putting in code that's going to go inside the function draw. All right. And so what we're going to do here on section 4 is that we're going to find the code comment for falling. Okay. You'll notice inside the function draw that there's a lot of comment code that's in there. And, for those that aren't familiar with it, comment code is a way in which computer programmers use to communicate with one another, whether it's to remind themselves to fix broken code or to add code. All right. If the comment code is done correctly, it will not show up on the final product. Okay. So, and as you'll see here with all the comment code that's here, none of it shows up on the final product. Okay. So what we're going to do is that we're going to implement a sprite velocity Y code, and we're going to put it on line 20 here. Okay. All right. Right after the code comment for falling. All right. Is that what we're going to do is that we're going to use we're going to put in a velocity Y code to make the flyer fall from the screen. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Toolbox Sprites. All right. And we're going to put in a sprite velocity Y code, and we're going to put it right in here. Okay. And up to this point, you'll notice that, even though on the lines 2 through 9, we created 3 different variables, all right? But you also notice that there's another variable called player, and that was already there when we started this, okay? We didn't really mess around with that on section 3, but I do want to point your attention to it because that variable is the actual player, your actual character, all right? And so there's the coordinates for it, all right? That's the Flybot guy that's on the screen, and it's set to scale. All right, so a little bit under scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this from sprite to player. All right, okay. So we're going to use that variable there. Okay, for the gets the value of. Okay, what we're going to do is that we are going to put in we're going to go to Toolbox Math, and we're going to add a addition operator, and we're going to put it right over here. Okay. And then we're going to go to Toolbox Sprites, and we're going to put in another sprite variable Y, or sprite velocity Y, sorry. Okay. And we're going to change that to player. And we're going to set this to 0.1. Okay. And then we're going to run the program. All right. Now you'll notice that this guy goes down rather slowly. Okay. If you notice on the right-hand side over here, okay, notice how this guy drops pretty quickly, okay? But when we run the program, all right, he's going down kind of slow. And we actually want it that way because it'll make it a little bit, as you'll see later on, it'll make it easier to play, all right? So make sure that you set it to 0.1 over here, okay? And this velocity Y code that we put in on line 20, that's really the only thing that you need to do for section 4. All right. And once you're done with that, you can go right into section 5. Okay. Now, section 5, all right, what we're going to do here, all right, is that we're going to implement some code, all right, to basically have this character move up whenever we hit the up arrow key. All right. So, and it'll even say right on there to say, find the code comment for player controls, add a conditional if block that checks whether the user is pressing the up arrow, and then add code inside the conditional that will change the sprite's velocity to move up if the up arrow is pressed. Okay. So what we're going to do, okay, is that we're going to go right under the code comment for player controls, okay, which is right here. All right, line 25, okay, and we're going to add an if block that checks whether the user is pressing the up arrow. So what we're going to do is that we're going to add an if statement. We're going to go to toolbox control. We're going to put an if statement right in here, okay, and as you know, with an if statement, there are two basic components to it, okay, the condition to be tested, all right, and the code to run if the condition is true. All right. So what we're going to do, all right, is that we're going to go to, for the condition, we're going to go to Toolbox World, and we are going to select the key went down code. We're going to put this right in here like that. Now it's already set to up, so we're fine there. Okay. And then for the code inside here, the code to run if the condition is true, okay, we are then going to use a sprite velocity y. All right, so we go to sprite velocity y. And the reason why we're using the velocity y code is that it measures whether it's going up or down, okay? So player, okay, and the velocity y, we're going to set it to a -5, okay? You'll see what I mean when we really get into this, okay? So we have our if statement here, okay? And then we are going to run the program, okay? Now our character is moving down, but if you hit the up arrow, he momentarily, if you just tap it, our guy will move up for a few seconds, okay? The more we press it, the more it moves up, okay? If I press it a bunch of times, he'll just keep going up, but then he goes off the screen, which is not what we want, okay? We want him to stay on the screen. So, once every couple of seconds, you may want to hit the up arrow key, okay? This guy is moving down because we have inside the draw loop, all right, the velocity y is set to 0.1, okay? So he's moving down pretty slowly, okay? Slower than on here, but that's what we want, okay? And so the reason why this guy is falling is because we have a sprite velocity y and it's set to 0.1. All right. Now, even though we used an addition symbol here, okay, he's going down. All right. And the reason why that's happening is that if you put the insertion point inside this program, if you move down, notice that the y coordinate goes up. So that's why we're using an addition operator here. Okay. And for the velocity y, it's set to -5. Okay. Down here. Whenever I hit the up arrow, he moves. The velocity is set to -5. And the reason why it's set to -5 is that if you put the, put the insertion point inside the program, and if you move up, notice that as you move up, the y coordinate goes down, all right? And now if I were to set this at a lower number, like let's just say a -2, all right? Okay, whenever I hit the up arrow, he moves up, but not really. Moves it at a very... I have to hit it a number of times before he would actually move up any significant length. Now, however, if I set it at or if I set it at -9, each time I tap the up arrow, it goes up a lot, and we don't want that. So I'm going to set it at 5, or -5 actually. Okay. All right. So basically, what we just did here is that we on section 4 we set code for this guy to continuously go down, okay? But on section 5, whenever we hit the up arrow key, he will go up momentarily, okay? But then start to go back down again, okay? And that's because we used the key went down code, so that whenever we tap it, it will go up, All right, it'll go up briefly, but then it starts to go back down again. Okay, and once you have that there, you're done with section 5. Now it's section 6. Okay, section 6. All right, what this section covers, okay, is the ability to move this guy from left to right. Okay, and to do that, all right, we're gonna implement code to have this guy float left and right on command. All right. So what we're gonna do here, all right, is that we're gonna go inside the function draw, and we are going to put in 2 more if statements. All right, and one key difference here is that instead of using velocity y codes, we are going to use velocity x codes because our character is moving left and right. Okay, so in any time when you're dealing with characters moving left and right, that involves velocity x. All right, so what we're going to do here on section 6 is that we're going to implement 2 more if statements. So we go to toolbox control, we put in an if statement right underneath the one that we created in section 5. All right, so we'll just put 2 right there. Okay, and for the first one, okay, we're going to use, we're going to go to Toolbox World, and we're going to select the key down code. All right, I'll explain why in a few minutes. So we're going to put the key down code, all right, and we're going to have it go right. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Toolbox Sprites, and we are going to use the sprite velocity x right in here. Okay. And then we're going to go to Toolbox Math and use an addition operator. Okay. Don't forget to change this from sprite to player. Okay. Then go to Toolbox Sprites and sprite velocity x. All right. All right. And then we're going to put it at 0.1 or 0.1. Okay. All right. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the second if statement, and we're going to go to Toolbox World. All right. And this one's going to go for our character going to the left. So we're going to go key down, and we're going to select left. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Toolbox Sprites, sprite velocity x, player. All right. Now for the gets the value of, we're going to go to Toolbox Math. However, for going left, we are going to select the subtract operator. Okay. And the reason being is that, if you put the insertion point inside this program here, and if you move it to the left, notice how the x coordinate goes down. Okay. If we move our insertion point to the right, notice how the x coordinate goes up. Okay. So that's why we used an addition up here. And it's also why we're going to use a subtraction for when it goes left. All right. So Toolbox Sprites, and we're going to use a sprite velocity x. All right. All right. And player. And then we go 0.1. Okay. So now we have our 2 if statements for when the character is moving either to the left or to the right. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run the program. All right. And our character moves down. We can move him up, but if you hit the right arrow key, he goes over to the right. All right. And if we move him up again, we tap the key went down code or the key down code, he goes to the left. All right. Now notice how he doesn't go to the left that, in order for him to really go left or go right. Okay. One thing you'll notice is that you have to hold down on the key down code. Okay. Because the way how a key down code works is that you have to hold on the button in order for it to move. Okay. With a key down code, if you just tap it, it's not really going to have much of an effect. You have to hold down on it in order for it to move. Okay. Now, and I notice how I set it at 0.1. So it's not moving very, very quickly here. Okay. So, which is what you want. Okay. So essentially, in order to keep this guy afloat here, you have to continuously, constantly hit the up arrow or the left or right arrow. Okay. All right. So, and notice that with the left arrow, it's the key went up code. Okay. All right. Notice that when you tap it, it will go up for a few seconds. Okay. But the key down code, you have to hold on to it for it to really move left or right, whichever direction that you want it to go. All right. That's really, it showcases the difference between the key went up and the key down code. All right. So once you're done with section 6, you can move on to section 7, which I will start to cover in the next video. If you have any questions on any of this, please let me know. Thank you very much.